good, Bills Mafia? It's Stevie Johnson, and you're in the sit down with my man Sauce God. Go Bills.
Freedom over fame. Freedom over cycle stays the same. Freedom over fame. Freedom over fame. The cycle stays the same. Freedom over fame. Freedom over fame. Freedom over fame. The cycle stays the same. Freedom over cycle stays the same.
And if you're just now tuning in, you're live here in the Sit Down on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, hosted by the Sauce Guy with special guest tonight, Slick Tom Tiberi, Buffalo radio legend himself. If you're just now tuning in, do us a favor, hit that like and share button. Join us in the comment section as well, especially if you have questions or comments for our special guests. We'll be in here live in just a few moments, ladies and gentlemen, right here in the Sit Down on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live.
Good, Bills Mafia? It's Stevie Johnson, and you're in the sit down with my man Sauce God. Go Bills. Yo, what's good, Bills Mafia? It's Stevie Johnson, and you're in the sit down with my man Sauce God. Go Bills.
Let's get this over with. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's simple, baby. Buffalo Bills football is heck, all right? And we tell you something.
I'm gonna crack a cold one because since it's a tailgate.
Ooh, ice cold, Mike. Let me tell you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are live here in the Sit Down with Sauce God, a sports and entertainment show.
I'm whipping the sauce, I'm tripping, of course, I want it all. All of my dogs be running with guard. Your mama, you're holding your pennies and bra. Cause when I get whipping the sauce, you taking it off. I'm dancing on tracks like stuff in the yard. We keeping it quiet, we moving the signs. But now we starting to riot, yeah. Keeping my eye on the prize. I got me a queen, we riding like Bonnie and Clyde. Trips to Dubai, the way I be blessing. I'm destined for changing my decimals. Decibels hitting the wave, I'm rapping incredible. Splitting their head like a cantaloupe edible. Got me so high, I'm touching the sky. Of course, I give it my all. I'm whipping the sauce, kicking the door. But then we been here before. She ain't involved, well, she ain't involved. Taking my shot, even if down, we tying the score. Do your dancing, now twist, don't stress, don't trip. Whipping sauce real quick, stay dripping. Sipping on cognac, roll tea in my veins, but you find that I'm whipping it, watch it get saucy.
How you doing it?
I'm twisting and mixing and shaking them haters right off me.
What you doing?
Yes, it is Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, right here in the Sit Down, a sports entertainment show and podcast. Available via audio podcast the following day. If you're not able to catch this live version on Facebook or YouTube, which make sure you're already following, subscribed, and liked with your notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the live versions of the Sit Down, the Bills tailgate pregame show as well. And special guests like I'm honored to have here in the sit down with me tonight, none other than Buffalo radio legend and broadcasting legend, Slick Tom Tiberi. How are you doing tonight, Slick?
There we go. How the hell are you, Sauce God?
Well, Slick, it's Friday night. It's a little bit of a rainy night here in Western New York, which is something that I actually really enjoy. I'm not really a sunny kind of weather kind of guy. I'm more of a a cloudy, overcast, rainy type of atmosphere. So, Slick, I'm happy to have you here in the sit down with me because most people know me for my love and passion for Buffalo sports, especially the Bills, Sabres, as well as the New York Yankees too. But something that people don't know enough about me, Slick, is that I grew up on classic rock and that I have a serious love and passion for classic rock. And it's something that I'm excited to talk about with you tonight here in the sit down as far as what are some of your favorite bands, some of your favorite concerts you've ever been to, your top 5 drummer, guitarist, and frontman of classic rock's history, as well as, hey, some of your favorite Bills memories and all that and much more right here in the sit down, guys. Hit us with a like and a share. It's Sauce God and Slick Tom right here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So, Slick, it's
well,
I gotta ask you.
I've disconnected a lot of brain cells over the years, but I'll try my best with the remembering part.
See, I'll tell you this, like I always called into your radio show with 97 Rock, the open bar. I mean, every single time, Slick. This is
Right.
something I gotta tell you while we're here live. That intro video I actually edited and did myself, and that's a song that a local recording artist in Buffalo gave to me for the song or for the video. But
Right.
that video intro was inspired by what your introduction was with my fellow Americans. That whole entire thing, Slick, every time at 7 o'clock, I don't care how many days in a row, I always turned up the volume and it got me so hyped up. So I'm pumped to have you in here tonight to start off. But Slick, tell the people out there watching right now a little bit about your history and how you've come up to be what I consider to be a Buffalo radio legend.
Well, thanks, Sauce. I started out in this business a long time ago, like when I was in high school, and so it's been a good ride. And I did work out of town for a while when I was younger. Like when I was 18, I threw everything in the back of my '74 Camaro and I took a job in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for $130 a week doing midnight to 6 and working for this lunatic called the Flying Dutchman, who probably worked at about 30 radio stations. He was kind of like Lou Saban. He would go somewhere for a year and then leave and go somewhere else. And then I came back this way, worked in Rochester, and then I went back down south again to Nashville, which kind of was a nightmare situation. And I came back to Buffalo in '82. I was in my early 20s when I came back. So, and I've been back ever since, and bounced around 107.7 The Bears, Z98 for people that remember that. And of course, several stints at 97 Rock, my last of which ended unceremoniously a couple of months ago. So right now I'm just doing a podcast at slicktom.com. You can get my podcast. I try to knock out a couple episodes a week, and I just goof on whatever's in the news and talk Bills pretty much.
Which is kind of cool because when you start to do it yourself, you can kind of then talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about. And that's something that I can relate to because I actually used to do this podcast with a bigger company called Built in Buffalo, but I decided to take it a different direction just because I felt like I could maybe expand it a certain way that they weren't going to allow me to do because it was limited to just talking Bills football. And as you know, Bills football, it might be, 12 months a year for me, but it's really not 12 months a year to discuss things. So a lot of Buffalo Bills, of course, we're going to talk later. I'm joined here with Slick Tom, Tiberi, Buffalo radio legend here with myself, the Sauce God. Make sure you guys check him out on the Slickcast. He's got his website as well that he just mentioned to you guys. Slick, let's start it off with getting to know you a little bit here. What are your 5 favorite bands of all time?
That's kind of difficult, but I would say, wow, probably as far as bands go or solo artist, are we talking?
It could be either or, just give me, I know that's a tough question to name off your 5 favorite, but try your best just to give me.
Well, the Stones are definitely up there. Bob Dylan, Warren Zevon is a favorite of mine. Zeppelin, the Guess Who are a few of my favorite bands. The Beatles, I guess, would be up there as well. I mean, there's so many great bands from that era. It's hard to. I would say that probably the Stones, if I had to pick a favorite band. But those are probably some of my more favorite bands. I also have a love for old school R&B music. Like Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye.
Okay, yeah, the Temptations.
Some of the old R&B, Memphis, that kind of stuff. Sam and Dave, and all that good stuff from the '60s and the '70s. So yeah, I like all kind of music, but
and that's back when music was
yeah.
like real. Music was just so authentic, and that's what I was going to say earlier. That my dad used to pick me up on weekends. Him and my mom had split custody, and we had about a half-hour ride from my school to his house. And every weekend he would play the classic rock station in Las Vegas because I grew up there a little bit as a kid. And
Okay.
he would ask me, who sings this? Who's this? Who's the guitar player? And I used to just boom, boom, boom. Classic rock trivia was my way of like kind of connecting with my dad a little bit. So that was something that was important to me. I'd say if I have my favorite bands for just classic rock genre, Led Zeppelin's number one for me. It's never even a debate. But number two has got to be the Doors. 3, I'd say Rush, because how are you going to get a sound from 3 guys like that over in the Great White North? 4, I'd probably say AC/DC. And 5, Pink Floyd. I mean, Pink Floyd could be higher for me, but just those 5 right there absolutely rock for me. So those are my 5 favorite bands. But Slick, I've been to shows ever since I was a kid. You've obviously had a chance to see some of the guys that I've never been able to have a chance to see, or will never get a chance to see. So try to tell me what are the best 3 shows that you have ever seen?
Probably the first concert I ever went to, I was about 14. So it's kind of like a sentimental favorite. And that was Superfest at Rich Stadium in 1974. It was the Ozark Mountain Daredevils, the Doobie Brothers, and Chicago. And these are like the original lineups, that's probably my all-time favorite concert. Then I've seen the Stones about 3 times. So the Stones are up there. And the Guess Who show I went to back around 2000 at the Odd, where Joe Cocker opened it, or I mean at the HSBC.
Oh, I'm glad that you mentioned Joe Cocker. That dude could perform. He really could. So those are your favorite concerts you've seen. I mean, I personally, if I could have picked a show that I could have seen, it would definitely be Pink Floyd, like the Dark Side of the Moon, back when they were all together. But as far as the best shows I've seen, Slick, it goes back to when I was 10, saw Metallica and Godsmack for my 10th birthday. Then I'd say number 2, it's got to be Steve Miller Band and Joe Cocker. And the reason I say this because I knew Steve Miller Band, Fly Like an Eagle, everything like that. But Joe Cocker, I knew I'm feeling all right, a little help from my friends, but like the way he performed was just kick ass. And that was one of the best shows I've seen. But then the third was a free concert for Queensryche back in, I think it was 2009. And it was at Lockport, their canal area down there. So that was pretty damn cool. Yeah, I mean, I love classic rock. Classic rock, I think, is what is the true essence of music because it's something that is timeless and it's something that I can listen to every single day and never seem to get sick of. But now we got to get into a little bit of a top 5 scenario with certain aspects of classic rock because, like sports, people always debate who's the greatest of all time. People could say the most influential of all time. But Slick, I want to start it off with who you think are the top 5 drummers of all time in classic rock history.
All right, top 5 drummers. I'm going to go Keith Moon, obviously. John Bonham, obviously. Ginger Baker has got to be in that realm, as well as a sentimental favorite, Levon Helm from the band, because you could also sing. Mm-hmm. Ian Pace from Deep Purple, and then you got somebody like Buddy Rich, who's just phenomenal drummer, jazz drummer. So yeah, those would probably be my top drummers.
All right, so those are your top guys.
Neil Peart.
I was gonna say, it's like I was gonna say
you can't leave out Neil
Peart. Me up there.
Yeah,
so for me, Neil Peart is number 1, and that's just because he wasn't a drummer; he was a percussionist. I mean, and not only was he genius behind the instruments themselves, but he was also the genius behind Rush's music. I mean, writing most of their songs, including Limelight, one of my absolute favorites. But number 2 is John Bonham. And the only reason maybe he's not number 1 is because he wasn't around long enough for him to have that possibility, right? But the way he played drums to Jimmy Page versus how drummers typically play to the bassist, that's something that you got to take note of. But 3, I'm going to honestly put Phil Collins up there. I mean, the guy sang, played drums, one of the more more known drum solo riffs, if you want to call it, in history. And then I got to say 4, I'm going to put Lars Ulrich in there. And then you got to put Ringo Starr in there as well. So, I mean, that's my top 5 drummers. I played a little bit of drums back in the day, but I wasn't exactly very good, Slick. But I'm happy to have you in here discussing these things with me. Me and Slick Tom right here in Facebook Live, YouTube Live, discussing a little bit about classic rock history, our top 5s. We still have more to come later in the show, including favorite wing spots, favorite Bills memories, and current thoughts on this team as we are sitting in the middle of the season right now at the beginning. All that much more right here in the sit down, which is presented by BuffaloSauceGod.com. Duff's Famous Wings. Remember that medium is hot. You don't have to ask for them extra crispy. If you go to the original, tell them Sauce God sent you, and Joe Duff will probably say, hey, thank you very much. Big Tree Inn right next to the stadium as well. The Zubaz Zone 716 Sports Card memorabilia store in Depew, and Louie's Bar in Attica, home of one of the best weck and wing combinations in all of Western New York. So, Slick, we talked a little bit about our top 5 drummers. Now let's go into another tough subject. Let's rank the top 5 guitarists of all time. Who do you got?
I did have Ringo on my list, by the way, too. I guess
Yes.
I didn't keep it to 5. I guess I didn't keep it to 5. But yeah, you can't pass Ringo up. Top 5 guitarist, I would say, first of all, you got to go Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, David Gilmour. I know you're a Floyd fan. Pete Townsend, Randy Rhoads, and Neil Young, I'm going to say.
Okay. I like that. Neil Young, obviously very influential. I like that you mentioned Bob Dylan earlier when you're talking about your favorites, because Bob Dylan has had his hand in everything when it comes to rock and roll music and music today, really in itself. So for guitarists, Slick, I'm going to say Jimmy Page for me is probably number 1. Number 2, I would say Jimi Hendrix. I think Jimi Hendrix was more influential, but I don't necessarily think that I enjoy Zeppelin so much that it's just hard for me to put Jimi Hendrix over Jimmy Page. But I'd say for 3, you've got to definitely consider putting you got to put David Gilmour in the conversation. You got to put Eddie Van Halen in the conversation. But I also think
Eddie Van Halen, definitely.
I mean, come on, Eruption, right? Eruption,
Right.
It gets me fired up every single time I hear it.
Keith
Knopfler.
Richards.
Yeah,
Mark
that's what I was
Knopfler.
gonna say. Honorable mention for me is Keith Richards, because how the hell is that dude even still alive, right? But I definitely think Mark Knopfler has to be included in that as well, because his melody in Sultans of Swing is one of my favorites of all time in classic rock. So that's a great list, Slick. And obviously, you know your music. Obviously, you've had a chance to get to know some of these people over the years and get a chance to see some of these shows. And you kind of had a chance to come up with rock and roll music over the years, which is awesome. By the way, quick comments from Bobby Warren, who is actually a Patriots fan, but he's my mentor, a good dude, great dude, honestly, even though he's a Boston fan. He also wanted to ask you a question too. He said, Slick, do you know Rick Beto? He is from Rochester.
Does he owe me money?
Oh boy, because Slick is a Paisan, by the way. Bobby is a Paisan too.
I don't know. It sounds. It could be one of. He might have been one of my callers. It sounds familiar. I had a whole stable of crazies calling me on a nightly basis, and there were a few from Rochester. So it sounds familiar.
So, real fun fact for you, Slick. I told you I've called into the open bar and I've talked to you. I've actually met you in person and had a chance to speak with you. But I had a buddy who was just a little, we'll say stunad, a little stupid, right? But he was he'd get really drunk, and I would say, hey, why don't you call in a Slick Tom? You know what I mean? So he'd make a funny story so you could put him on the radio, and I used to love having him do that. So, Slick, appreciate you for giving me a chance to laugh at my buddy every single time he got drunk.
Well,
but let's go in.
I was a lunatic magnet 5 nights a week. I had them all. You know, the people calling in from the drunk tanks. People calling from mental health facilities, stoners. You know, doctors. It was quite a mix of people, and I do miss them. I do miss my callers.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, of course, you guys can check them out on the Slickcast, and we'll talk about that a little more later in the show as well. But it's me, the Sauce God, at Buffalo Sauce God on the social media platforms. Make sure you're following, liked, and subscribe. Notifications turned on. If you're not able to catch the live versions of the Sit Down or Bills pregame show, you can always check them out, available via audio podcast, wherever you may get your podcast from. It's myself and Slick Tom Tiberi right here, local Buffalo radio legend, Buffalo broadcasting legend, absolute just legend in itself. Join here with me talking about classic rock, and we still have more to come later in the show as well, so stay tuned. And after Slick is out of here, guys, we will be resuming our normal Bills talk. Myself, Modown, and the guys are going to be in here after Slick. So Slick, man, let's talk about the next tough top five. Who do you think are the top 5 frontmen of all time in classic rock?
This is easier question for me. I'm going to go with Peter Wolf from the Jag Isles Band, Mick Jagger, of course, Freddie Mercury, Jim Morrison, and Bon Scott. And that's my solid top 5 frontmen.
Slick, you're like right on the money with me right there. So obviously I got Freddie Mercury in there. The way that he commanded that show for Live Aid. If you haven't seen the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, guys, it's a really good portrayal of what Freddie Mercury did in front of so many fans when he was basically dying. But I also have Robert Plant up there. I have Jim Morrison too. And Jim Morrison, it used to be a little bit of my spirit animal, Jim Morrison. You know what I mean? I'm a rider on the storm at heart. Mick Jagger's up there as well. And if I had to pick a 5th, it's going to be really tough, but it's like, I want to say Bon Scott, but at the same time, wasn't around necessarily long enough for me to say that. I'd probably go with Axl Rose. And I mean, the stories about Axl Rose, about how he would go through withdrawals when the rest of the band was just too fucked up to go to meetings that were really important to the band, but he would tough it out and he would make those meetings. I mean, it just shows a little bit of toughness. And hey, his voice is impeccable. Mr. Brownstone is one of my favorite tunes from Guns N' Roses. So that's also another guitar. Slash is definitely got to be put up there as well, right?
And while we're talking on Freddie Mercury, Brian May was on my list for guitarists. We forgot about Brian May, another great guitar player. So there's no shortage of great frontmen and great guitar players and great drummers. I mean, we left out a lot of great people, but maybe next time we'll do a top 10.
Hey, I like that idea because, hey, there are so many greats out there, but to narrow it down to just 5 is incredibly tough. But myself and Slick Tom are talking everything about classic rock history. We still have to talk about favorite wing spots in Western New York and what it's like tailgating for Slick Tom, and as well as many more things involving the Buffalo Bills and myself and Slick Tom. So we talked about the top 5 frontmen of all time. Now I got to ask you, because you've had a chance, I'm sure, to speak to some of these bands and musicians and getting a chance to maybe see them in a true essence of who they are. But can you narrow it down to one band or musician that is the most memorable that you have ever had a chance to have spoken to?
Wow, that's a good question. Probably, and it was on the phone. I would probably say Greg Allman. It was very cool to talk to. I met Eddie Van Halen as well, Bryan Adams. Now you got to remember, I did nights, so I Burton Cummings from the Guess Who, so Peter Wolf from the Jag Isles Band, one of my idols, one of my heroes. He was probably the coolest person I ever met, and I met him backstage, and he told me a lot of cool stories, and just shot the shit with me for like a half an hour after one of his shows at the old Trough. So but yeah, I missed doing nights. I missed a lot of great shows. But those are some of the people. I remember John Kay from Steppenwolf. I pissed off because I had him on the air interviewing him, and he hated cigarette smoke. And this is back in the early 80s when you could still smoke in the studio. And I was a chain smoker back then. So I kept lighting up. I lit up, and he just looked at me, and I'm like, sorry, man. I put it out. And, I'm nervous. I'm talking to John Kay. Then I accidentally lit up another one, and he's just looking at me with those, he used to wear those dark sunglasses, And so that was kind of funny.
It's funny you bring up John Kay of Steppenwolf. My dad actually got a poster autograph from him. And I actually had a chance to meet him. I actually had a chance to meet Eddie Money at a free concert in Las Vegas on Fremont Street. And he was a really, really cool dude. I'm pretty sure he used to be a police officer.
Eddie Money seems like a down-to-earth kind of dude.
Yeah. Of course, he passed away some years ago, but I mean, hey, 2 Tickets to Paradise. You can't really go wrong with that.
He had a song called Trinidad, which is kind of like a lost classic. I have on, check it out sometime. It's called Trinidad. I forgot what album it was from. I had that on EP, like a big single, wasn't really a big hit, but a great song. Anyhow, go ahead.
So also a guy that we forgot to mention too for frontmen was Diamond Dave,
Yeah.
David Lee Roth, which also one of my favorite random appearances in the TV show The Sopranos. David Lee Roth makes an appearance and they're playing poker and has a very funny quote in that show. And then also for guitarists, who was it I just had in my head that we forgot we had left out? I can't seem to remember. If I remember, I'll bring it back up at some point. But no, nonetheless, like Tom, so we're talking a little bit about frontmen. We've talked about some of the best bands, and we've talked about everything as far as classic rock music. But let's go into something else so the people out there can get a chance to know you a little bit more here in the sit down on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Hit us with a like and a share, guys. And don't forget, this is sponsored by BuffaloSauceGuy.com, Duff's Famous Wings, Big Tree Inn, Zubaz Zone 716 Sports Car Memorabilia Store, and there's also the Louie's Bar in Attica. So let's talk about your favorite 3 chicken wing spots in Western New York, Slick, because chicken wings is something that is associated with Sauce God.
Yes. Wow, that's another tough one. I mean, there's so many good places. I'm gonna have to go with Mulberry's, Imperial. This is off the top of my head, and the Buffalo Irish, South Buffalo Irish Center has great wings as well.
I like that. I have to try those ones out for sure.
Yeah. My wings have got to be. I know you're the sauce god, but I like my wings dry. Like I like the sauce on them, but they got to be dry, crispy, and dry. Well done.
Yes, they always got to be extra crispy. So actually, usually on game days, we have a pregame show right here on my pages for, we call it the Bills Tailgate. And I will usually have one of my chicken wings with my own sauce made up. So I do it at the very end. I kind of eat it when I'm doing one of my segments. And one of the things we do is we do it in chevettas with lemon pepper, and I just keep it dry like that. But it marinades in the chevettas after we parboil them, and then we fry them in the air fryer afterwards. So they're phenomenal. So like I have to put you onto some of my sauces if you ever want to. Actually, one of the ones I make is from one of my favorite spots in Buffalo. My top 3 favorite spots are definitely Duff's number 1. And that's just not being biased because I'm related. That's because legit, I've never had anything less than a perfect chicken wing, the perfect hot wing, the standard for chicken wings, in my opinion. Number 2, Big Tree Inn. They're Cajun, the dry Cajun and wet Cajun. They're phenomenal. Thursday night, they got wing night. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong with that either. But number 3 is one of the sauces I've actually made as a paying homage to them is the Union Pub in downtown Buffalo, right next to Salem's Field. They have what's called the Jester sauce, and that's barbecue, garlic parm, and they're phenomenal. So that's one of my that's my 3 favorite spots right there. Now, Slick, obviously you've been to Bills games, you're a Bills fan, but I've got to ask you because obviously you have had the open bar show. You're inviting the lunatics. Do you tailgate? And then tell me about where and what you're up to when you're in tailgating mode.
Well, I do not tailgate, but I did tailgate the last couple of years with the radio station when I was still working there. We would tailgate, and I would walk around and talk to different, we go to different tailgate parties and interview them, talk to them, shoot the shit, and people like one guy, I forgot what the hell, he had some contraption that he cooked his wings on. We just talk to people, but I don't have season tickets right now, so I'm not really tailgating. So tailgating for me is getting up in my underwear with a cup of coffee and watching the game right now. I mean, that's on my high definition 4K 65-inch TV with my surround sound, and that's my tailgate deal for me. I don't really I don't tailgate like I used to back in the day. Yeah, I used to really get even back then I would tailgate the night before. I had season tickets during the the Kelly Thomas era, and with my old program director John Hager. And it's funny because I would get there at like 5 after 1 and everybody already be in their seats. But you got to remember, I came home at 4 in the morning, 4:30, 5 o'clock. So I partied. I did my tailgating the night before, you see. So there's no way I was going to get up in the morning and friggin' tailgate. It was just all I could do to get up to make it to the game. So,
I definitely get that. So for me, obviously I don't go, I'm 30 years old now, but I definitely have had my fair share of the tailgating experience. In fact, I've actually taken some people to their first game experience and for their whole first tailgating experience. One dude actually wanted to break a table afterwards, and he did so, puked in the parking lot, but then he rallied with a beer, that kind of stuff. But for me, I'm not really much of a drinker except when it's coming to being at the tailgate. So I will usually get up. I'm at the red carpet in probably about 8 o'clock at the latest, right? And I've always got my hand warmers, whatever I need to stay layered up. But I'm usually always I drink some water, eat some food, and then I start to do 2 beers at once. But I never seem to just get so drunk that I can't, I can't function. So it's like a different energy for me that I could just kind of tailgate like that. But for me, I also like a chance to kind of, look and see what's going on for like guys like Pinto Ron, Keita Nakagawa, the Bill Samurai, who actually was just a guest with me and a couple weeks ago for the sit down. And that episode will be airing in the coming weeks as well. But I just like a chance to vibe with Bills Mafia, get hyped up, talk about, hey, Josh Allen's going to throw for 500 yards in the first quarter kind of attitude. And it's just always something I truly enjoy so much. Just in the essence, even if the Bills lose lately, I can kind of tolerate it if I'm at the game. But
I mean, the whole experience of being around, your own tribe, at the tailgate parties, you're there with all Bills fans. You're all like, it doesn't matter whether you're Republican or Democrat or, black or white or whatever you are. Everybody's united as a Bills fan. And that's one of the cool things about actually going to the game that I enjoy. But there are some earth dogs that go to the game just to get hammered. And it's no fun. You got somebody sitting behind you puking their guts out, but I'm seeing that less and less. I think people are getting better at the games. So, but yeah, I mean, I still go to a couple games a year. It's just that I don't do season tickets anymore like I did back in the Thurman Kelly, Bruce Smith era.
The glory days, of course. So we're talking myself, Slick Tom Tiberi, right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, in the Sit Down, a sports entertainment show, also available via audio podcast, wherever you may get your podcast from. Quick highlight that I have to make right now. Nicholas Mitchell, who said best wing sauce, hands down. He actually tried it for the first time week 2 when we played against the Miami Dolphins and absolutely stomped them. And I actually reviewed that sauce right on the sit down pregame show. And he had a chance to try it afterwards and said that it was phenomenal, hands down the best wing sauce ever. That's my signature sauce, which I put out graphics for everybody out there that's curious as to how you can make it. You just simply need some Franks, some butter, and some other seasonings and stuff like that. So that's always available out there for you guys. But hey, we're talking about tailgating. Now we're going to talk about what is your absolute favorite Bills memory ever. I know you've got a lot of years as a Bills fan, but just try to give me your one true favorite memory as a Buffalo Bills fan.
Well, it's hard to give just one. I'm going to give you 2 or 3. Okay. I'm going to give you my earliest memory going to the rock pile with my dad. And I think I saw the Bills play the Colts with Johnny Unitas. So that was quite a trip when you're a little kid. And I remember coming out and our car antenna was busted off. So, but that was the rock pile, man. And then, of course, I would say 1988, when the Bills clinched the AFC East divisional title, beating the Jets. I think Smurlis blocked the field goal. And I was at that game with my dad, and that's the game they tore the goalpost down afterwards.
I think my dad was at that game.
And then, of course, the comeback game in 1990 against the Houston Oilers. I broke my binoculars from hammering him on the metal bench. I don't think anybody sat down for the entire second half of the game. I mean, everybody was just on their feet. It was insane. I never heard the stadium that loud in my life.
Oh, I can imagine. A funny thing, actually, I remember seeing on Twitter a few years back, somebody was at the game. You were with JP, and they actually had tweeted. They took a little picture with you guys behind them and said, 2 Buffalo legends are here at the game.
Right.
And I think we ended up winning that game. So that was something that I always thought was pretty damn cool. So Slick, my favorite Bills memory has got to be if it's not the Josh Allen against the Jacksonville Jaguars rookie year game, it's got to be when we broke the drought of 17 years. I was living in Dunkirk at the time. There was snow everywhere. It was freezing cold. I couldn't even get the game on. I didn't have cable at the time. My mom was actually watching, and texted me, but I was watching on ESPN's little Gamecast where like just updates with, whatever happens on the play. And it's fourth and a mile to go for the Bengals. And then my mom texts me, dude, with an exclamation. And I thought, no way. And then I see the result and I drop my phone. I run to the street screaming, go, let's go Bills. Hey. It was just it was New Year's Eve, actually. One of the more memorable New Year's experiences I've ever had. So it's great to be a Bills fan, even though they've let us down a lot of times and we've been heartbroken several times. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm blessed that the Yankees have been successful for a good chunk of my life, but I haven't been so much in the recent decade. So hopefully they could change that starting Saturday. Slick, are you a baseball fan?
I was when I was a kid, but I don't really follow it now. I know the Mets are in the playoffs this year. Are they not?
Yep, the Mets actually just won in 3 games against the Brewers last night. In fact, it was a really close game, and they were losing, and then they came back with a home run from Pete Alonso. So yeah, the Mets are in, the Yankees are in. They had a first round bye, so they'll be playing against the Kansas City Royals. And the Yankees offense has definitely looked incredible this year, Slick. And I'll tell you this, the game of baseball is more exciting. It's more sped up. It's not as drawn out. There's more hits, there's more stolen bases, there's just a lot more excitement. So baseball is definitely something for anybody out there that's looking for something to keep them occupied throughout the week when there's no football. There is playoff baseball, which is very exciting. And I believe we don't have any days of the week without football until sometime in November because of college and the NFL as well. So now, Slick,
I did play Little League baseball. So I did do that, and I played for the Mets. And this is when I lived in when I lived in New York. I lived in New York in Rockland County for a couple of years, and we had the guy that cleaned up the cafeteria. He was like the janitor, Woody, and Woody was the manager for the Mets. He's like, "What team you want to be on, Tommy?" And his wife had a glass eyeball, and I said, "Woody, I want to be on the Mets because my friends, the Yanazone brothers, were on the Mets." Mm-hmm. So, and we kicked everybody's ass, but we got to the championship game, and we all believe sincerely that Woody actually threw the damn game, because what he did was we get to the championship game, and there's this kid that was always wanting to pitch, and they never let him pitch. So we get to the championship game, he puts this kid in, and the pitcher that wins all the games for us is playing in the outfield. So we got our ass kicked, and it was like, we all think that Woody got paid off. So that was, I don't know what the hell I would say.
The game. Are you kidding me?
So at a young age, I learned, that life is not fair. And I still have a picture of me and the dejected Yanazone brothers standing there with our heads down after the game. Probably about 8 years old. Yeah.
Slick, giving us some memories right here. Of course, it's Slick Tom Tiberi, Buffalo radio legend, absolute broadcasting legend right here in the sit down with myself, the Sauce God. Make sure you hit us with a like and a share if you haven't already done so. We have more to come still on the show with myself and Slick, but also after Slick's out of here, we have our usual Bills talk with myself, 12 Gauge, Modown, and possibly Rampart. So, hey, we also talked to Buffalo Sabres losing today for the season opener, which I guess is in Germany, which is kind of weird. But Slick, the Bills have had some serious injuries as of late, and we've had some weird things with Von Miller now serving a suspension kind of out of nowhere. We're coming off a terrible loss to the Baltimore Ravens. What do you think of this team currently?
Well, it's like you said, it's a mash unit. Hopefully we get Teron Johnson back soon, and our linebacker, Terrell Bernard. We really need those guys back. You can only go through so many injuries before it starts to, even though our backups do a solid job, still, you can only go through so much. And I guess Cole Bishop is going to start, I heard, this weekend at safety because what's-his-face is out. Rapp is out. Yep. So, but here's what I say. When you got Josh Allen, you got a chance to win every game. People forget we went through, you were talking about the playoff drought of however many years that was. Was it 17?
17 years.
We also, here's a little, did you know, we went through 17 starting quarterbacks from the time Jim Kelly retired until the time we drafted Josh Allen. So 17 starting quarterbacks. And then you look at teams like the Packers, they go from, Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, to Jordan Love. What do they have, a horseshoe up their ass, or I don't get it.
First off, the fans own the team. They've won the first Super Bowl. So like there's just some weird history where the NFL like allows Green Bay to just, do what they want to do, have as much success as they want to have. But like, a small market team like the Bills have to just fight tooth and nail. We have to have a 17-year drought and have to go through that many quarterbacks. I mean, the number 17 is very, very huge. I think, in fact, by the way, I think it was 4th and 17 for that for that Bengals game against the Ravens, where the Bills actually broke the drought because of the touchdown pass.
Yeah,
I think that was
that's right.
4th and 17. So it's just really weird that the number 17 is so involved with that. But I think the team currently right now, they came off of a tough loss, but people aren't remembering this. Like, is that Ravens team was hungry for a win because they already had 2 losses on the season, coming off of a good win against Dallas. They have a really good offense. They have a really good defense. They are really one of the top teams in the AFC. Their record didn't necessarily show it, but they were hungry. They wanted that game more than we did. And I think also at the same time, we didn't play bad, but we didn't play good. But we also just didn't make enough plays, and they made all the right plays every single time. So I'm not bummed about it. I mean, it sucks to lose that way, but I still think this team is definitely well balanced and well positioned to continue to be contending for at least playoff spots and to hopefully contend for a Super Bowl. So now let me ask you this. Do you think the Bills can win a Super Bowl with this current team, coaching, and front office? Because some people would say that the coaching is going to always set them back. The front office. Well, what do you think?
It's kind of a catch-22 because people will always say, "Well, McDermott, we're never going to get to the Super Bowl. The defensive coach. We should have an offensive head coach." But the fact of the matter is, ever since McDermott and Bean have been here, we've been to the playoffs. How many years in a row now? So.
All except for 1 year.
Yeah, I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And, but McDermott does at times drive me crazy where he gets a little too conservative like he did in the Ravens game. I thought he should have went for it on 4th down and 1, and then the 4th down and 2, and then the 4th down and 1 later on. I didn't understand that. But I do like Bean. I think Bean is really good. You could do worse. You could do a lot worse than those guys. So I wouldn't change anything. But if you don't have the franchise quarterback, you don't have shit. So I'm glad that we have Josh Allen, and as long as we got him, we're going to be in the playoffs every year. And it's just a matter of putting a cast around him. I think
a big part of that was getting rid of Stephon Diggs. I think that he was as good as he is. I think he was more of a cancer. That's why they were willing to take such a big cap hit.
Right. I do think that he is more liberated now because he doesn't have to worry about feeding Diggs.
Yeah, I gotta throw the ball to that guy. I mean, he's triple covered, but if I don't throw the ball, he's gonna put his hands up on the sideline and have his brother tweet, "Gotta get bro out of there." All that stupid shit. That's the kind of stuff that we didn't need. I think this team is capable of winning a Super Bowl if they can continue to play clean, efficient football like they did for the first 3 weeks.
Well, I think the kid, the receiver we took in the second round, I'm drawing a blank right now on his name. The tall kid, with the yellow jacket. What's his name? The wide receiver.
Keon Coleman. Coleman, yeah.
Keon Coleman has got to emerge. We really need him to really emerge because you do need that guy that can stretch, stretch on the perimeter, somebody that can stretch the defense because Kincaid and Shakir aren't enough. You got to be able to have somebody that can get on the outside and get something. So we really need him to grow up fast. I know there was a rumor that they were inquiring about Davante Adams, but he makes $14 million a year, and we're like we have $4 million to spend. So I don't see how that could happen.
It could happen if we were able to entreat the Raiders enough with compensation to eat most of his salary for the year, and then we could obviously go into salary figures the next year. But but I think, okay, sure, it'd be great to have a guy like Davante Adams, who I don't know if he's necessarily still at his all-pro level, but he's definitely in the top 10 receivers in football kind of category. But I like what you said, Keon Coleman. When we went his way, he did have one drop, but I mean, it was a contested ball. It's going to happen. But he catches most of the things that we throw his way, especially those 50-50 balls. So I think that we're realizing now we have an option over there we have to utilize it. But also, I like the way Joe Brady has done with this offense and like utilize everybody that he possibly can and kind of spreading the wealth. But I definitely like to see Keon or Coleman emerge a little bit more too. So if you guys are just now tuning in, this is the Sit Down on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, presented by Duff, Spoons, Wings, BuffaloSauceGod.com, Zubaz Zone 716 Sports Car Memorabilia Store in Depew, the Big Tree Inn and Louie's Bar in Attica. It's myself, the Sauce God, at Buffalo Sauce God across the social media platforms. Make sure you're like, following, subscribed, notifications turned on. If you're not able to catch the live versions of my shows, you can always catch them via audio podcasts like Apple, Spotify, wherever it may be. And also make sure you want to have those notifications on so you don't miss any of my highlight reels, my commentary, or any of my Buffalo Bills and Buffalo sports and all sorts of sports entertainment updates. So myself and Slick Tom are right here discussing everything about the Buffalo Bills currently. But let's talk now. Who are your favorite players? One current, one and one from the past.
Well, current, you got to go with Josh Allen. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I mean, we're not even having this discussion about the playoffs or the Super Bowl without Josh Allen. And let's see, all-time. Jesus, that's a tough one, man. I mean, that's you got to have Bruce. Bruce has got to be in that conversation. Jim Kelly, obviously, Thurman Thomas, and I'm going to throw OJ in there because I grew up in the 70s. And, personal life aside, just as a football player, you got to remember in that decade, that was a decade of the running backs.
I mean, you're talking a 14-game season, and he still ran for over 2,000 yards. There's
right.
That's by far the most average yards per game. I mean, truly, that in my opinion, that's the record. You have way less games.
And he was kind of like a Barry Sanders as far as excitement goes, because every time they gave it to OJ, it was like, is he gonna break one for 90 yards? Is he gonna break one for 70 yards? I mean, because he had that home run ability, and they would feed him the ball. I mean, the whole team was geared towards running the ball, and other teams knew that they were going to give it to OJ. But you know what? He still got 2,000 yards. I mean, they couldn't stop the defenses were geared to stop him, and they still couldn't stop him. So you got to give him his due on that. What happened to him later in life? I would have liked to see.
One thing to say: drink apple juice because OJ will kill you.
There you go.
That's great. So great. I love it. You got yourself some great former players. Great assessment with Josh Allen. My favorite player that is no longer with the Bills was Tre'Davious White, because he was the first piece for the Bills kind of turning their franchise around and changing the culture. And that's actually something that they made known to him, that you're the first piece in this franchise turning things around. And much love to Tre'Davious White. But all right, Slick,
what about all the great guys that played on shitty teams like Aaron Schobel and Kyle Williams?
Actually,
those
how about
guys.
this one real fast? Because actually, he is a good friend of mine, a person that does a lot of things for the community of Western New York. And he has actually been a guest on my podcast, and somebody that I talk to all the time. A little quick message from former Buffalo Bills legendary receiver Stevie Johnson.
Yeah, Stevie Johnson was great, man. He was awesome. And he was he a free agent or like a late round pick?
He was, I believe, a late round pick and played with, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think even Trent Edwards there for a bit too.
Yeah.
Johnson was, in my opinion, probably our best player. That wasn't Fred Jackson or a defensive player. I definitely think Stevie Johnson was up there. He actually recorded this little commercial real fast. So let's play it one quick moment.
Okay.
What's good, Bills Mafia? Is Stevie Johnson, and you're in the sit down with my man Sauce God. Go Bills.
Go Bills. He's a good dude, right. Honestly. He does a lot for the community, and I've had a chance to actually talk with him on a podcast before, and always giving me opportunities to sit down with him and that kind of stuff. So Stevie Johnson, good dude. That's definitely my favorite pass player, and also Lee Evans. Lee Evans, like, dude, the guys he played with, but how good he was. Lee Evans, he was a beast. So Slick, I got one more question for you before I
imagine if we had a guy like Lee Evans now with Josh Allen.
Oh my God. Exactly. It'd be nuts. It'd be
or Eric Moles. There's another guy that wasted away on bad teams.
Yep. Oh, Eric Moles. In fact, Eric Moles still works with Khalil Shakir, wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills too. So
true.
Yeah, I played receiver. I wasn't necessarily fast, but I was quick and very hard to tackle. But Slick, let me get one more final question from you, and then I'll give you a little chance to give a final message to everybody out there watching. But give me a score prediction for this upcoming matchup in Houston on Sunday at 1 p.m.
Well, this is going to be a real dogfight, and the prediction I gave on my Slick cast was the Bills 27 and the Texans 24. So I'm going to stick with that. All right.
Okay, I
I think
like
it's
that.
going to be it's going to be a dogfight, but I think we'll pull it off.
I think we're to pull it off. I'll give my score predictions later on in the show when I talk more about the Buffalo Bills with 12 gauge, Rampart, and Modown. We're expecting as well. But Slick, man, I've appreciated having you in here talking about classic rock, talking everything about Bills, chicken wings, everything Buffalo radio legend Slick Tom Tiberi. So Slick, tell the people where they can find you at, where they can find your current Slick cast at, and just give the people a final message.
Okay, well, if you go to www.slicktom.com, that will take you to Podbean, which has all my episodes on there. I think I've done about 22 episodes, and I'm streaming on Apple, YouTube, like I said, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon, iHeart, all that, all those good streaming joints, places. So yeah, you can get me on any of those. And I would ask people to subscribe. I'm kind of new with this, but I'm enjoying it, and I need subscribers. So go to Podbean, and it's Slick's Open Bar is what it's called. And if, like I said, if you go to slicktom.com, the link it'll send you there.
Guys, check them out. Slick, of course, keep doing what you're doing and keep trucking, keep trucking along because I'm always going to be a big fan. Honored to have you here in the sit down with myself right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Guys, make sure you check out the Slickcast. Slick, I'd like to have you back in here again sometime. And hopefully next time we're talking a little bit about the Buffalo Bills winning. But Slick, it's been a real honor, man. And I appreciate you so much. And as always, God bless and go Bills.
All right, AB. Thanks for having me.
All right, Slick. Hey, have a good rest of the night, man, and enjoy your weekend. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 12 gauge. I believe I'm waiting for 12 gauge to come on in here. And I want to say real fast to everybody out there watching on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, hit me with a like and a share. Join me here in the comment section as well. That was Buffalo radio legend Slick Time Tiberi joined with me in the sit down to talk everything about classic rock, chicken wing spots, and everything to do with the Buffalo Bills. So now coming in is my producer and co-host, 12 gauge. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing very well, Sauce. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. We're expecting Rampart to join up here in a minute as well. I'm not sure about exactly where Modown is at the moment, but nonetheless, that was a great interview. So, Slick Tom. So 12 gauge, what did you make of having Slick Tom here in the sit down?
Yeah, he's very cool dude. He's got a lot of great memories. He's just legendary. My only word, legendary.
In 12, you obviously know that, like, we've been out towards Buffalo to catch, radio, we would always have 97 Rock on. And every single time I tuned in at 7 p.m. and he had his introduction, dude, it was just always got me fired up. So it was great. And I'm honored to have him here in the sit down. And you guys make sure you check him out, the Slickcast. He is doing this on his own. He's not working for a radio network at the moment. But hey, Slick is truly a voice of Western New York, Gage. And like, I listen, I love RJ. I'm not taking nothing away from him. But when I talk about voices of Buffalo, Slick Tom Tiberi has to be up there. Also, that's got to be up there is Carl Redneck Russo. So, you know what I'm saying? But guys, we're out there. Myself and 12 gauge are still live here in the sit down. We still have to discuss everything with the Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres. We're expecting Rampart to join us here in a moment. So 12 gauge, we had a tough loss against the Baltimore Ravens, and I think it's something that most people are very inclined to become negative. Tell me your immediate thoughts and feelings after losing to the Baltimore Ravens and also losing in that way.
Well, losing like that. I think I saw a status that said, "This must have been what the Jacksonville Jaguars felt. And that's exactly what I felt.
I mean, legit. Okay, so here's how I felt. I felt we gained some momentum. We had ourselves a chance to get back in the game. And then we had that turnover. You know what I'm saying? So like at that moment, 12, my only true disappointment in that game, it just had to be, honestly, it had to be just that trick play from Joe Brady at that moment, because I didn't understand it. We were driving. And 12 gauge, feel free to play some background music too if you want, brother. It should be low enough. And play the ones at the bottom, like this one I'm playing right now. So at that moment, I'm like, what the hell? Like, okay, obviously if the play works out and it goes for a fucking touchdown or a big gain, obviously hindsight's 2020. We wouldn't be sitting here talking about it, right? But at that moment, you're driving, you're moving the football. You don't need to get the play right then and there. You just have to continue to move the football and make enough plays, and you get yourself to, what would it be at that moment? It would have been what? 21-17, I think it would have been.
I don't know.
I don't recall. It might have been 28-17. Who knows? But at the end of the day, we had finally been able to slow down the Ravens enough to get the football and have them punt. Lamar Jackson was dialed in, by the way. So the fact that we were able to get off the field sometimes was like they were wasted opportunities. So I didn't understand, why did we do a trick play at that moment? 12 gauge. So here, coming in now to the sit down is our guy Rampart. Rampart, how are you doing, brother?
What's up, buddy? I'm trying to find my microphone right now, so hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear, sire.
We can hear you.
All right, I don't know,
he's already got his Sabres gear on. He's got his winter gear on. Tyler, obviously, we'll talk here about the Sabres in just a brief moment, man. The Sabres had their game one today, and it did not go their way. Obviously, it's game one. No reason to be alarmed. But, Tyler, we're talking right now, myself at 12 gauge, about what the hell? Like, after losing to the Ravens that way, like, is there a reason to really hang our heads? No, it's one game, and we didn't make enough plays. Do you hang your head after a game like that?
Absolutely not, man. I mean, honestly, Gage, you can attest to this, right? You've been on the golf course, right? You hit a couple shitty shots. Who cares? You know, you get back after, you hit the next one, you know. Maybe you'll hit your farthest drive like Timmy. I mean, he's a Ravens fan, so here, I got to throw him in there. But anyways, boys and girls, I think honestly that, you know, with the Ravens, you got to learn, man, because, you know, that running attack, I wasn't in here last week on the sit down, and I had a lot of stuff going on, so I apologize for that. But what I was going to say is you have to make Lamar beat you by throwing the football. Like, you can't allow him
all day.
I don't care if the DN takes his tight end all the way to the freaking sideline. You got to set the edge, man. You can't come out there and flat. And I felt like that's exactly what happened. They got caught off guard, and you know, once you get down like that, just like the Sabres today, right? Like, I was watching the game, like, yeah, they let in a goal. Okay, they just get out of the power play. They throw the puck up the boards. The New Jersey guy's there. Okay, he throws it to the middle. I mean, we were on a line change, like, and he walks straight in on UPL and scores, right? You can't let that goal get you down, man, because just as fast as they score, you can score. Like, I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, right? Alabama, kicking our ass. But what do, dude? We didn't put our heads down and mope and whine and all that other goofy shit. You fucking go through and you play the game, man. You can't quit prematurely.
You never can quit. I mean, and something that, you know, actually special guest Keita Nakagawa said when I interviewed him was that the thing about the Bills Mafia is that the never give up mentality that we have to have. It's one game. It's just, you have to remember that fucking Houston Astros started off like shit this year. They found themselves back in the playoffs. They got tossed out in the first round, obviously, which I'm pumped about.
Fuck the Astros. But
fuck them. But yeah, hey, do you think that they fucking decided to throw in the towel after, you know, people continue to say that Jose Altuve is trash? See what I did there? No, they continue to fight and they continue to cheat and they continue to keep going. Hey, if you guys are just now tuning in, it's the Sauce God here with Rampart and 12 Gauge on Facebook Live, YouTube Live right now, and presented by BuffaloSauceGod.com. Duff's Famous Wings, Big Tree Inn, Zubaz Zone, 716 Sports Car Memorabilia Store, and also Louie's Bar in Attica. We're talking a little bit about the Buffalo Bills losing to the Baltimore Ravens. In my opinion, everything you can't really just. You have one turnover, you had some penalties, and the Ravens just didn't play bad. They played a great, perfect game, in my opinion. They played the same way the Bills kind of played against the Jaguars. Maybe not to that level necessarily, but we honestly had a chance to crawl ourselves back into the game a little bit, but we didn't execute. And then the stupid trick play, that's the kind of shit that I take away, is that's the only negative for me, that trick play. And hopefully we learn from it. Hopefully we understand situational football a little bit better as a result. And that's what I'm kind of hoping for the Buffalo Bills coming out of that. So let's talk a little bit about some different topics, ladies and gentlemen. We have some injury updates for the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. The current situation with Stephon Diggs in Houston and what we think about Stephon Diggs and everything that has happened since he's left and how they're doing and how the Buffalo Bills are doing without him. Also, the Von Miller suspension situation, what our thoughts are on that. And the rumors of Devontae Adams being shopped by the Las Vegas Raiders and the Buffalo Bills being linked to that amongst other teams. All that much more right here in the Sit Down on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and available via audio podcast the following day. So I had Slick Tom in here discussing everything classic rock and Buffalo Bills. But let's talk about the injuries. We saw today 12 Gauge, Khalil Shakir. We saw Ed Oliver. They are ruled out for the game. We do not know at this moment if we have Taron Johnson or Terrell Bernard. What do you make of the latest injuries, and what does that mean for this Bills team coming into the next game against Houston?
Taylor Rapp as well.
Yep.
Well,
the rookie's going to get a start.
Well, we need some big guys to step up on that D-line.
You got enough fucking depth. I mean, you have Daquan Jones, you have Greg Rousseau, you have AJ Epinesa, who in the absence of Von Miller played pretty well. But you'd like to see some more out of what we have at linebacker, and that's just kind of tough when you don't have Matt Milano and you don't have Terrell Bernard. At the moment, Terrell Bernard and Taron Johnson were limited in today's walkthrough. There is a chance they play. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure if they are. What do you think, there, Rampart?
Can I throw something in here?
Of course.
Go for it.
This is going to be out of the box thinking, but I want you guys to appreciate what this because what it is. All right. So you don't have your middle linebackers, or you're out. You're hurt at linebacker, right? So how about this, dude? How about you put them safeties on the cornerback position and you run cover 2 and run your corners at safety? Make them make a tackle. You know what I mean? Because you can't. You got to have guys that can cover in the back end. And the Buffalo Bills also need somebody that can tackle. So you put them safeties up there to play the hard flats, right? Make sure nobody gets outside. Von Miller, play a little bit more wider to yourself. Maybe even move him around a little bit. Put him in the middle sometimes. You got to be creative when you're playing offensive, defensive games, right? Because, yes, your offense is prolific, and they're always going to be that. But you have to give him support, because if you don't, you're going to be playing from behind all the time, dude. Just like in hockey, right? You throw the puck around the boards. I don't want to see no more back passes, dude. That shit never works, because guess what? If you turn the puck over, your goalie's left to a freaking dry. So, I mean, you have to be smarter about the way you're calling these plays. You just have to be, man. You can't let them gaze slip away from you, because, dude, the Baltimore Ravens right now, they're hungry, right? That you let them get one on you. Now you got to get them back.
And that's the thing. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I talked a little bit about that with Slick Tom earlier in the sit down. I said people are failing to remember that the Ravens were coming in with 2 losses already, 1 win that they had just come off of against the Cowboys, big win. But they were very hungry, because if you fall into a 1-3 hole in that very tough AFC North that's currently led by the Steelers, and the Bengals are obviously going to creep back into play. The Browns play their fucking typical 10-7 football and somehow find a way to make trouble. That's the things. Ravens had to win that game, and they came out. They unleashed all the stops. Derrick Henry decided to play football again, and it just happened to be against the Bills that week. The Bills also had several missed tackles, and I felt like you can't have that. But also Lamar was playing very dialed in football. He made tough throws. He did what he had to do, and that was beat the Bills by passing and letting his guys run the football and make plays around him. And that's how you beat him. And I said that that's what was going to have to happen if that were going to be the case. So, ladies and gentlemen, live here in the Sit Down on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, it's myself, the Sauce God, 12 Gauge, and Rampart, talking everything about the Buffalo Bills and Ravens game. I'm not hanging my head. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to hang my head. I never do. It's early in the season. We're technically a quarter of the way through, but we have a big game coming up against Houston, and that's what we're more concerned about, and that's what we should be concerned about. And the guys that are ready to go on the field have to be ready to step up, make plays. I'm looking at you, Keon Coleman. I'm looking at you, James Cook, Dalton Kincaid. I'm looking at you too, Curtis Samuel, if you get your number called, MVS. Well, let's make some plays offensive line as well. So let's talk about the Stephon Diggs situation. Rampart, you've seen how he's played thus far for the Houston Texans. What do you make of Stephon Diggs currently in Houston, and how do you feel about that team right now?
I still think Nico Collins is your biggest threat, right? I still think he's your number one target. Diggs, I mean, it depends how they use him, right? Like, I think the Buffalo Bills were very good at using Stephon Diggs, getting them opportunities to get open. You got to be able to contain Joe Mixon, too. I mean, you can't let them run the football.
I think Joe Mixon is out this week.
Okay, well, that's good. I mean, all right, so you still got Dalton Schultz, right? He's a good player. You got the head coach on the sideline. I think the key to this football game is going to be your run game. You have to get your two tight ends involved. What do the Baltimore Ravens have? Two tight ends. What did they do? Run the football. You have to be smart. You have to pinch down. You have to get to that second level. Mm-hmm. Play your game.
So, Derek Barnett, Joe Mixon are 100% out. Dameon Pierce is questionable at this moment. Robert Woods is questionable. Robert Woods. Yeah, Titus Howard is questionable.
Holy.
Deion Dawkins, by the way, was dealing with a hamstring injury for the Bills, but he was a full participant. Austin Johnson is out. Taylor Rapp, Khalil Shakir. Right now, it is still questionable, but Terrell Bernard and Taron Johnson could be possibly ready to go for this game against Houston. I think as far as Stephon Diggs goes, Nico Collins obviously is that dude over there, okay? And I'm not saying Stephon Diggs ain't playing great either, but it's just, you can tell it looks like sometimes CJ Stroud's a little bit unsure of himself at times, maybe perhaps, and it makes you wonder why. You know what I mean? And obviously he's a well-poised, mature, young elite quarterback at this point, second year in the league. But it makes you wonder how good the situation really is in Houston, just because they're winning some games. What happens when they start losing games? For the Bills, I think it was necessary to get rid of a guy that was taking away from the other players around him and being used as a force play. I understand he's a number one option in your offense, but that doesn't mean you have to go to him every single play. So, by the way, I ironically was going to mention him just a little bit ago. Breaking news, Hall of Fame and Bills Wall of Famer Billy Shaw, who I believe was an offensive lineman, has passed away at the age of 85. Former Buffalo Bills legend. And like I said, I had an autographed jersey of his just passed away. And I just was mentioning that to Slick Tom like 20 minutes ago. It's crazy. Bills legend that has passed away. So, all right, let's talk about Von Miller. We all saw last year he had some domestic stuff going on. The charges were dropped. Nothing ever came as a result of it. But Rampart, a 4-game suspension was all of a sudden dished out after this loss to the Ravens, especially when Von Miller has been playing pretty solid for the first 4 weeks of football, except for the Ravens game. He wasn't nowhere to be found. Nobody was. What did you make of the Von Miller suspension?
I think he needs to take care of it, whatever it is, because there's obviously something more to this story that they aren't coming out in the press. I think that, you got to step up, man. Next man up. I mean, that's what Brian Moran always told us. Next man up. You go down.
He also said hydrate. Hydrate.
You're not that good, son. You're not that good.
Absolute dog shit. Absolute fucking dog shit. Back in my day, we didn't bitch. We just threw rocks. Like, oh, okay. Can I take my helmet off yet, coach?
But let me say something here. We always got water at the trough. So, he'll take care of you if you take care of it.
Hey, Randy fucking hooked us up with that fucking, the fountains there. Yes. Fucking Randall's a legend. 12 gauge. How shocked were you when you saw the Von Miller 4-game suspension?
Very. Because the charges were dropped. I didn't think anything else would come of it. I thought it was done. What the hell?
Yeah. I think it's sometimes we see these civil things play out and then they don't get their suspension until later. But like we went through a whole entire season. I understand he was hurt for a decent chunk of it, but it's like now they put him on that suspension. I don't know if it was necessarily dished out by the NFL or the Bills themselves, but it was definitely a little bit of like a head scratcher. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of made no sense to me. But Von Miller is suspended for at least the next 4 games without pay. That part's always funny to me. Without pay, that's what we're all concerned about. Whatever though, we have to go forward with the guys that we have on the field for the next 4 weeks. We have ourselves a tough part of the schedule coming up as well, which some people will say is conspiracies. The NFL trying to slow us down somehow. I don't know if it's necessarily that, but if you guys are just now tuning in, it's the sit down. Hit us with a like and a share. It's Sauce God, Rampart, and 12 gauge right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and also available via audio podcast the following day. I just had Slick Tom Tiberi, Buffalo radio legend, in here in the sit down. Before these guys showed up, we're talking everything about the Bills Ravens, the Bills current news as well. So let's talk about the next piece of news. Davante Adams is being shopped out of Las Vegas, and at the moment, their asking price is a 2nd round pick. The Bills are a plus 2,000 underdog to in sports books to trade for Davante Adams for him to become a Buffalo Bill. He has said the teams that he would prefer to play for, one of them being the New Jersey Jets, his former quarterback Aaron Rodgers, where he had some of his best years in Green Bay. The Saints have been linked to them because of Derek Carr. That's why he went to Las Vegas, and then Derek Carr goes to the Saints. So obviously, Rampart, you're hearing a little bit of news that he could be coming to your team. Let's talk with you first. Davante Adams, if he's going to become a Saint, is that something that you see for your franchise, and how would you feel about it?
Honestly, I got to think long and hard about this because, obviously, I think Derek Carr is running a lot of the offense right now. So, really, to me, if I was so let's do this, right? Who do you guys think Davante Adams should go to? Any team in the league?
Not Kansas City.
Hell no.
12 gauge. I'll let you answer that one first.
Whose offense would benefit most? Honestly, I think the Jets.
Yeah, but okay. Then you have Breece Hall, who's supposed to be your fucking workhorse. Then you have Garrett Wilson, who's been dying to be their number 1 receiver ever since he was drafted there, and he has the skill to be so.
What is he?
Yeah, Mike Williams in that offense too. So like, does Davante Adams? What is it going to work?
All right, me personally, this is where I think Davante Adams should go. He's 32 years old. If you get him at the trade deadline, he's going to be about $8 million.
Yeah.
I think Davante Adams should go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now, listen to me here. And then I know that's one of my
a divisional rival.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. But listen, that's also my uncle's team, right? So I respect it, okay? Now, the reason why, because we all know Chris Godwin has been banged up over the last few years. He's never really been the same since he's torn his ACL.
He didn't look like last night.
You get Davante Adams, Mike Evans becomes your Mike Williams over there in the Jets, right? He becomes your jump ball guy. You still have a running game. I think, personally, it's just with that defense. That's the only thing I would question because we just saw Kirk Cousins go 500 yards last night.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And not to negate from your point, because that's a good take. I mean, he would definitely fit in with the offense, and it would give them a different dynamic. But they don't run the football very well, except for Rashad White getting the 1 run for 56 yards. Thank you very much for the prop bet. Bada bing. But they have a lot of playmakers. You know, Cade Oaton is a decent tight end. Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns last night. Chris Godwin was absolutely on fire. Then you throw Rashad White, who can catch the ball out of the backfield. Bucky Irving, who's a decent backup running back as well. Baker Mayfield playing solid football. You'd like to maybe see him get some better protection per se, maybe a better tight end per se. But I don't know if Davante Adams to them is exactly what they would fit for what they need. But I honestly could see where you're coming from with that too. But I think if Davante Adams wants to go anywhere and be successful, it might be the Baltimore Ravens. And he did post a picture. I think it was Edgar Allan Poe. So it's kind of like, is that a cryptic message because he was from there, or he said something further? I don't know. But I don't want him going to Kansas City. I don't want him to go to the Jets because, but okay, so let's talk about it in this regard.
Let's talk about this now, right? Because you just said the Baltimore Ravens, okay? So are you trading Mark Andrews?
No, they're not going to trade Mark
I don't
Andrews.
think Mark Andrews.
They want a second-round pick.
He's playing.
They want a second-round pick.
I don't think it's going to be a fit because, like, if you're the Vegas Raiders, right? I almost said Oakland, but it's Vegas. I gotta always say that. You'll have Brock Bowers and Mark Andrews to teach him, right? So I think you make that room for that, and you give a 3rd-round pick because I think that's a good value.
And I mean, you know what? That's a good take too, because Isaiah Likely's playing pretty solid at tight end. I mean, so that's a possibility there as well. But let's talk about it in this regard. We're talking right now in the sit down, myself, Sauce God, Rampart, and 12 Gauge about Davante Adams and the rumors of him being traded from the Las Vegas Raiders for a asked right now 2nd-round pick, which isn't really all that much if you know you're going to get at least a couple. You want to get 2-3 years out of him, but he's 32, like Tyra said. So let's talk about in this regard. Him going to the Buffalo Bills, would it be something good for the Bills? Would it be what they need? And is this something that Bills Mafia should really want to happen? Let's start with you, 12 Gauge.
I'm not really sure I want him in Buffalo, but it would be a good fit for Josh Allen. He always goes deep. Davante Adams always goes deep. He's good at contested catches. He's good at running routes.
I mean, he's a very, very well all-around receiver. Don't get me wrong, but we haven't seen it we've seen it in some games, including last year against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. He actually was pretty effective, but he doesn't have a very good quarterback throwing the football his way, and he's been injured. He's got a hamstring injury, but I got my takes on it, and it's like, it's one of those things where, like, okay, if he ends up here, how am I going to feel about it? That's we'll talk about that here in a minute. But Rampart, him going to Buffalo, would that be good, bad? What do you think?
It depends, kind of, I guess, because what you could do, because I think he's got a player option, right, at the end of this year, so he can re-sign for something. I don't think you pay him $30 million because you already owe Von Miller a lot of money. And, like, I think personally to me, and I love Von Miller, I understand, right? But I think that could go down to be like an Albert Hainsworth type sign. Now, hear me out here. I know he's been teaching guys, Greg Russo, but at that point, just become a head coach. What are you out there still playing for if you know you can't get it done? Okay? And the Buffalo Bills have been trying to get it done for a couple years now. My personal take is when they let Tyreek Hill go for all them yardage in 13 seconds, I think that was when the Bills were like, okay, this one hurts a lot. Let's try to come back. But I think the mountain was too substantial to climb. Now you have Joshua Allen to be your quarterback. I think he's the best quarterback maybe could be ever, right? We talk about Dan Marino's arm. We talk about him move like Cam Newton. I mean, Josh Allen, to me, is the guy that you want on your team, right? The weapon aspect of it, though, I just think it's got to be, you got to get more from your running game. So are you going to get Davante Adams to be kind of like a Deebo Samuel, some guy that you can throw around?
No, of course not.
He's strong, though. He's strong. So
but he doesn't have that type of athleticism. No.
I think he does, though, dude. I think because his feet, he's very hand-eye coordinated. So I think he knows how to fall. He can play running back. I think that if you're the Buffalo Bills, though, that's too much to shake up, dude, because Josh Allen's the leader in that room, right? You don't need another guy to come in there and be like, no, this is how we do it. No, it's not how we do it. We do it how we do it.
So I like that take. For me, it's like, okay, you're going to bring Davante Adams in here. It's going to change the whole dynamic of the offense. I'm sure that Joe Brady could do just a great job with it. I'm not doubting that one bit, but like, why change up what you already have working for you? It just didn't work against the Ravens, but that's a hungry elite defense right there in that game. And we were in Baltimore. Just a lot of things didn't go our way, but we still played pretty solid offensively, and we just couldn't finish drives, and we just couldn't play a 100% complete game. Too many 3-and-outs, stupid penalties, things like that. So really, I didn't see a lot of problems within the offense. You'd like to see the run game get going more, yes. But Keon Coleman, I'd like to see more out of him. He was drafted with their first draft pick this year, and that's going to open the door for him to become more of an option in the offense and to be more utilized too. And I think that we saw that we can go to him more. But again, he is a rookie trying to mesh in and blend in with Josh Allen and fit chemistry-wise. So I think that if you bring Davante Adams in, it's more so to keep his ass away from the Chiefs or the Jets. And because the Chiefs right now have a dire need for him, if anybody does. But the Bills, Khalil Shakir, we're not sure how long he's going to be out for. Hopefully it's not longer than anything more than this week. But if you have him available to go, Dalton Kincaid available to go, James Cook, we've seen the offense works just fine. And Josh Allen doesn't need somebody of that star power per se to kind of come in and shake things up. I mean, if his attitude is there and he's all about, I'm a team player and this is Josh Allen's team and I'm not trying to force my way into anything, then fine. I'll give him a shot. He can still play, but he's 32. Do you really want to trade? You have 2 second-round picks this year. You can lose one, yes, but you'd have to get the Raiders to eat a bunch of that salary for it to even happen this year. So that's my take with it. It's like, all right, it could work, but do I need it? Do we have to have it? No, but if it's going to prevent the Chiefs from getting him, then yeah, by all means. So let's go ahead. Let's get into a different segment here, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Sit Down on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Rampart, I'm going to let you get into your segment of Rampart's Rally. Then we're going to get into getting saucy, and we're going to get out of here because it is getting close to 8 p.m. So Rampart's Rally with the Buffalo Sabres first game taking place today. Let's start it off with a little message from RJ, and Rampart, take it over.
Oh, shit.
No, Rampart, 12, you're good.
Yeah, we didn't have a video for that one, boys, but
no.
Listen here, boys. You got to get the number 76 rolling. You understand? There's no 76 out there, but you got to get them rolling, dude. I mean, you can't go out there like it's some throwaway game up in Rochester. Okay? All right. Hey, Ramparts Rally, Tage Thompson. We got Jordan Greenway. I'm going to need you to help these boys get physical. You know what I mean? Because, listen, boys, the defense can't be left hanging. We have to get back, okay? But don't stay back too long where there's no outlet pass and then the Jersey Devils gets the puck at the point. You can't do that, dude. You got to help your goaltender out. He can't see nothing. Get out of his way and let him save the puck, dude. Let him do his job, okay? Yep. Rasmus Dahlin, this is your first game as the captain, and I love you, brother. But get these guys fired up, man. Don't be scared to speak your opinion about things. Lindy's not going to mind, trust me. Just because Lindy Ruff come back, dude, and there's like some type of like, whoa, I don't want to fuck up. Lindy Ruff is that guy in the room. When he walks in there, you be quiet because he's got something to say, right? Don't be intimidated by that, though, because he wants your input. And Marty Baron, brother, speak some truth, all right? Because I feel like you just go up there and you're like, oh, the Buffalo Sabres, it's only 2 goals, who cares? It's the first game. Razor Rob Ray, let's go, buddy. Let's get fired up, dude, because I'm sick of this, right? We play tomorrow 10 a.m., right? Let's get after it. Not even 24 hours. You know how this team's going to play. You know how to get them. They're going to try to get you on the feet, get physical, get some shots on net. Nice and low, get firing, dude, because I'm sick of this drop passing bullshit, dude. I'm fucking sick of it, bro. It's been too long that I've been watching this happen. Fire the punk. Fire
Amen
the
to that. All right, so that's Ramparts Rally right here, presented by the Zubaz 716 Sports Card Memorabilia Store in Depew, New York. We're going to go into our next segment of Getting Saucy right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, in the Sit Down with Sauce God at Buffalo Sauce God, presented by Duff's Famous Wings. Medium is hot. Don't have to ask for them extra crispy if you go to the original. And don't forget, Duff's is the fucking GOAT of all time. Yes, the greatest of all time. You know what I'm saying? So let's get into it. Let's getting saucy.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Ice cold, nice refreshing Labatt Blue on a fair store behind J817.
It's a cold front, is what that is.
I'm fired up this week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to get you fired up. Bills Mafia, want to hear me getting saucy this week? It's simple. Mac Jones and the New England Patriots, and also, too, the Miami Dolphins, and anybody that's got anything bad to say. Bills by a billion, baby. Let's go. Let's go, Bills. Getting saucy this week is going to be a little bit different. This is, of course, presented by Duff's Famous Wings right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, here in the Sit Down, normally airing Friday nights at 6:30 p.m. with special guests. Also on the Bills game days, we have the Bills pregame tailgate show right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live. And this segment of Getting Saucy is going to be dedicated to my co-hosts. Rampart, I want to say very much, I appreciate you so much for always coming in here and getting me fired up and always talking sports with me and being a true one of my best friends. And also 12 Gauge for always locking it down with the boards and the producing and showing up in here to be a co-host and talking with me, and always appreciate the love from 12 Gauge, one of my best friends as well. Modown, who's not in here with us, he must be taking a nap. I know he had a long day in the card world, but of course putting in some dedication and getting into the sit down. I gotta say thank you very much, brother. Quick shout out to Kirby, who is actually just fine from the Hurricane Helene efforts. He's got power back on. He's got family coming down to visit him. So Kirby's all good, safe and sound, good vibes, positive things, and appreciate everybody out there for sending positive vibes his way. Little shout out to all of our viewers and current commenters like Bobby Warren, John Robert, who's normally in here, and guys like Nicholas Mitchell. Want to give a quick shout out to all you guys out there as well. Quick shout out to my girlfriend for the voiceover on the introduction for the sit down, as well as the recording artist Mark Lee for the song Sauce. That is the official song in the sit down's opening intro. And want to give another quick shout out to our special guest, Slick Time Tiberi, who was in here talking classic rock, talking Buffalo Bills, talking wing spots, everything that much more with Slick Time Tiberi, Buffalo radio legend right here, myself, the Sauce God. And quick shout out to Keita Nakagawa, Bill Samurai. That interview will be coming next Friday, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be airing next Friday. It will be about a 28-minute interview. You guys do not want to miss. Everything to go with Tokyo Bills Backers Bar and Tokyo fan, Bills Mafia fan, Keita Nakagawa. So that's going to do it for us this week in Getting Saucy, and that's going to do it for us this week in the sit down on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and available via audio podcast the following day. Make sure you're like, following, subscribe with those notifications turned on so you don't miss the live versions of the sit down, the Bills pregame tailgate show, or any of the content covering the Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, all things sports entertainment with myself, the Sauce God at Buffalo Sauce God, and with my guys 12 Gauge, Rampart, Modown, and Kirby right here on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, 6:30 p.m. Friday nights, and on Bills game days, and soon coming a post-game show in the works as well. As always, man, bolster up, stand tall, and from every single one of us here, God bless and go Bills. Have a great Friday night and have a great rest of the weekend.
Go Bills, baby.